Good morning from Zurich. You're listening to Monocle on Sunday with me, Tyler Brûlé. Coming up on today's program, Andrew Tuck is here, Sophie Grove is here, we've got Brenda Toohey. We're going to be heading also up to Helsinki in a moment. Also, Emma Nelson is back in London. Andrew, it has been a rather epic week. One party, one event after the other. Are you happy that we're all just sort of coming down on this Sunday morning?
My goodness, how we've made it through the last week, I don't know. So yeah, Christmas market, party for clients, party for staff, a lot of booze, a lot of dancing and some karaoke too.
Much to discuss, Andrew, of course, across this next hour. We're also going to get the latest from Helsinki from our correspondent there, Petri Burtsoff.
I'm Petri Burtsoff, Monocle's correspondent in Helsinki, and I'll be joining you to talk about how Santa's homeland celebrates Christmas, how Finland is using Santa as a soft power tool, and how Santa, yes, the one and only, faces some stiff competition, both home and abroad.
Plus, what our senior correspondent Rob Bound does for Christmas. I know you're just waiting to hear that. It's the 22nd of December 2024, live from Zurich. This is Monocle on Sunday.
Live from Zurich, this is Monocle on Sunday with Tyler Brûlé.
And good morning from Dufourstrasse. This is indeed Monocle on Sunday. I'm very happy to say that Andrew is here for change, is not down the line from London. Sophie Grove is also here as well. Our Brenda Toohey is going to be joining us a little bit later. Good morning. Very nice to see both of you.
Very nice to see you.
Yeah, great to be here.
Listen, we heard Andrew in the menu, Sophie. Maybe just we'll rewind a little bit. Just tell us about the week, where you've been, what you've done, what we've all been up to. I feel like we've sort of seen each other in sort of various cities, but here we are in Zurich.
And we take a very aerobic approach to Christmas parties. I mean, the dancing has been incredible. And just a really sort of like an obstacle course of Christmas markets. We've been to the ballet, Brenda and I think twice, but also just great hospitality and just catching up with colleagues. So it's been really fun.
Well, I think you set us up on the aerobic front. Also, Emma Nelson is back in London as well. Emma, before we went on air, you were talking about you were wearing some type of tracking device, which would somehow it did sort of clock your movements across the dance floor. Which, if we rewind, that was last Thursday evening in London.
I'm very glad it didn't actually clock my movements, because that, I think, is something which should be kept solely on a Monocle dance floor and no one else should see. And it's lovely to share the movements with friends, but I think everybody else was going for it themselves. A very good morning to you all and happy Christmas from London.
Yes, Merry Christmas.
Just looking at, I have one of those funny fitness trackers, and between midnight and 1:30 a.m. On the night of the Monocle Christmas party, I danced for 2 miles, which I think is about 2.6 kilometres in new money.
Well, Andrew, I don't know. Andrew, do you wear a tracker as well? Because I think you really tore up the floor. Because you started. Because Emma, I'm not sure how early you started. Sophie, I know you got in there and you said, dance floor, I'm right in there. Because, and Andrew, you made sort of the observation very, very early on as well that normally people want to have a little drink, they want to have a little gin and tonic, they want to warm up. Of course, there was already 3 hours of warm up at Granger and Company before that, but people were right in there, weren't they?
Well, Paige Reynolds, who used to be with Monocle Radio, has moved into the world of being a pop star, but is the most amazing DJ, and boy does she know our crowd. She just played one great dance floor filler after another, and it was just amazing. When I came back to the office from Granger & Co., I'd been there like 2 minutes, and it was just packed. And there's some very flamboyant dancers within our organisation. It's a bit like,
really? You don't say.
a few people who might want to derobe, I think, at certain points. But anyway, it got a little bit wild on occasion. But how fun! And I thought I'm not going to say too late. I was certainly there at 2:00 in the morning, still running around that dance floor,
Leading the charge. I think it's fun because we've had so many new members of staff join, and you never know what they're going to be like on the dance floor. Then you can have a little anticipation, but sometimes they really hold back. And there they are, throwing the shapes. I mean, Anita Riotta, she's got some moves. There was really
Anita's got some moves. Our Rory, our new Rory, he's got some sort of contained moves, but yeah, definitely knows how to move it across the dance floor as well.
Hassan, also interpretive dance going on there. Every lyric he's representing on his face in some way.
But Emma, just in terms of covering, and Andrew, just when you said sort of doing the rounds, Rob Bound will be talking to him a little bit later in the programme. So, Rob, treats a dance floor like a racetrack, though, doesn't he? Because he sort of defines his own outer perimeter. It's not like, let's just go right off the parquet, right? And like, try to sort of hug the perimeter of the building.
He does this trot around the edge. It's like watching Ascot races with a very fine filly who's kind of dislodged its rider somehow and is like bucking around the racetrack.
I'm not sure how Rob would. I don't know which bit of that is actually Rob. I haven't seen a sort of a disdainful filly. I wouldn't necessarily compare Rob like that. I think Rob to be piling in right in the thick of it, which is the limbs and the flesh that was our party 2 weeks ago. I think we might have to call an ambulance, because he doesn't necessarily just occupy different spaces. He fully fills any space he occupies and then stretches further. He's very much like Mr. Tickle.
Yeah, well, maybe in more ways than one. Andrew, I was just going to say as well, there should probably also be a special citation for our colleague Martin as well, who works at our sister company, Wink Creative, because I was thinking he deserves some kind of, special interpretive award for different things you can do with USM furniture as well, because listeners, much of our space that is used as this sort of impromptu holiday Christmas dance floor, it has other functions. There's a lot of USM furniture as well. He was riding it. He was strutting across the top. He actually tried to crawl through some of it as well. And then we thought, oh my God, how are we going to dislodge him? If you go onto the USM website, how do you lube somebody up to sort of get them out? They get their head out anyway. And that way he got wise
Is there
anyway.
a helpline?
Exactly.
Well, if USM wants to reposition, I think we have somebody who could appear in their ads. When I came to Zurich, I got on the aircraft and I wondered what was in my pocket, and I took out a couple of Polaroids that somehow lingered there from the party. And one of them is of Michael Callahan, like beer in hand, shirt rather undone, doing a kind of like a John Travolta kind of Mark II for our age. He looked rather jolly. It cheered me up on the plane anyway.
Yeah, there is something about a certain group of gentlemen in our company who all like to undo a button or two.
Yeah. There's
or take their top right off in the case of some.
There's definitely more gentleman cleavage in our company than of any other kind, he said carefully.
Okay, Andrew, I want to. We don't have to start with you. We can start in London. Sophie, I can start with you. Maybe let's just do a small sort of maybe look back sort of Hall of Fame moment. Of course, when you think about Confect, and this is also, we're moving into our sort of our 5th year of business, which is really quite remarkable. But just when you look back at, of course, the array of issues that you've put together and delivered, a couple of outstanding stories from the past year. When you think about the Van der Vega, when you think about the fashion stories, when you think about the outposts we've been to, anything standing out for you?
Well, I think one of my all-time favourite stories from this year was our fashion shoot at Villa Volman in just outside Prague. It's about 20 minutes outside Prague. This incredible sort of modernist, sort of 20s, 30s building that they've just restored it, and it's that sense of this beautiful interior. But we shot there with a great sort of duo, Polish photographer duo, and just really amazing local talent. I mean, a lot of the brands we shot were from Poland, a few Czech brands, but there's a real sense of place, but also that idea that a fashion shoot can also be a travel story, and you just want to go there after that, and ride your bike around the grounds but kind of inhabit that world. So that was one of my highlights.
I was thinking as well, just a couple of hours ago before going on air, you're having a story meeting. Don't want to give too much away, but a photo shoot happening somewhere in Asia. It was just great. I thought it was just, we could have captured that moment of just the briefing, the types of venues, the types of locations that we'd be looking for, and you sort of just really sort of deliver that sort of sense of place when you talk about, of course, shooting in the Czech Republic as well, and how that's really fundamental. Of course, you want to deliver to our readers great garments on a great set of shoulders, but it is also about giving it, as you said, this sort of sense of place, and of course the context of of course what those outfits are going to be, surrounded by architecture, surrounded by great industrial design.
I mean, this is what we set out to do with Confect from the outset, was really create this sense of discovery, but brands that you can really wear and looks that you just, it would be super easy to adapt and add and layer to your wardrobe. You're collecting. It's not about trend. But I think you also want to apply that to where you're shooting these things. And so it does go down on your bucket list. You tear it out and you're going to go there. And I think the story meeting that you were just overhearing, in fact, with Fiona Wilson, who's our bureau chief in Tokyo.
You gave it away now. God, now we know where they're going to be shooting, Andrew.
But she really, obviously, having lived there for so many decades, she knows every beautiful nook and cranny. But then, Marcella Palek, who's the style director, also knows what makes a great shoot, the textures, the context. And it's just so exciting to be able to get together, especially in the same room here in Zurich, and then just bounce off each other. And now we've got 4 years under our belt. We kind of know where we're going, even though there's always that wonderful sense of, feeling a bit intrepid, pushing that little bit further and out to Asia, as you say.
Well, Sophie, we'll maybe reflect on some other stories in a moment. Andrew, again, we've often talked, and when we've been reviewing the year, also speaking to our partners and our readers about the year ahead as well. 2024, record year for paper buying. A Book of France came out. We just managed to squeeze a book. I was going to say little book. It's a book of the same scale of all the other books we've recently done on Greece as well. Newspapers. Escape has just hit as well, not to mention the core 10 titles, plus the entrepreneurs, plus the forecast, etc. It's a lot of pages to look back on, but if you think of 2-3 things that are outstanding for you.
Well, I still love, oddly, something that didn't get checked there because it was only a few months ago in a sense, but it feels years ago, is the latest of our companions. I got to work on a city's companion with Saint-Gobain, an amazing partner in France. Paris have been so important to the brand this year. So that was amazing to get that out in the world, to have the sense of the kind of ownership of part of that debate about what happens in our cities, which I think is really important. I like it when we're epic with our photography. We had 2 really standout stories in that front, a Lithuanian choir story that Ed Stocker did, and the recent story on the human towers, on the castillos in Catalonia, shot by Julia Salmon, where not only are the colours amazing and the characters extraordinary, there's something euphoric. There's something almost like religious. It's like a Catalan Mecca with these people swirling around. It's just so entrancing that I that story. Someone else just wrote to me about it this week, just saying it's the kind of story that I come to Monocle for. And it's just great, and we know that, but it's just when you see, it's like classic. The kind of photojournalism you'd come from, you could see in the 70s or 80s, where when newsprint did these stories really well, and now we can do these well. I like the invention rather of the concierge landing on page. I think the stories we've done in comic strip style this year have been amazing. You were very heavily involved in helping us pull in some of the talent for those stories. Again, just allowing us to look different and feel different.
Well, also to meet some of these illustrators as well, who are just proper characters. And so, of course, I'm always coming back, whether it's, being in Asia or coming back from Paris, of course, where there is such a bande dessinée scene, and you of course you rip out some pages and you bring them back to the art team, and then of course you sort of realize that there's a personality at the other end, and oftentimes you sort of think about just a young illustrator, whether they're operating on a screen or this drafting table, but in the case of our concierge, who the creator lives in Bordeaux. And sort of showed up at the Creon when we had our little media summit a few weeks ago, which I want to talk about in a moment. Just a proper, dapper gentleman, and came from the world of media and advertising before, and just knew his game. And what ends up on page, you can just tell that there is, so much history. And it's just been fun just before going on air as well, reviewing where a concierge ends up next. Of course, we started with Paris. We're now going to be heading out to the west of the United States. Don't want to give it away, but also there might be sort of a moment of animation, literally, which will come along as well, which is super, super exciting.
And you also did this great thing this year. You helped to set up this trip for the art team, for those on the photo desk and the illustrators and the design team. And we went to Paris for this inspirational couple of days. And we went to the Pompidou Centre, and we all went to see the exhibition about the history of the comic book, not just the bande dessinée, but how it had taken off in Japan, how it had taken off in the US, and the crossovers between all these things. And you just realise that as soon as you step out of the Anglophone world, how rich this history is, not just as Marvel, not just as the comic strips that we all know, but as political thrillers, as documentaries of critical stories about society. It was so amazing, and also the artistry involved in those works as well. So it's been a year of amazing inputs of inspiration wherever we've gone, but that kind of Paris moment was really special as well.
I want to bring the parents in here. Emma, Sophie, thinking about bookshelves, coffee tables, bedside tables, is there a world of comics happening in maybe outside the Marvel world? You know, is there interest in Asterisk? Is there interest in Corto Maltese? All of these different titles that are around, because this is the one thing which is so striking when you're in the France Benelux region, that it's not just sort of a side promotional table, that there's just so much comic work, as Andrew is saying as well. It can be a political thriller, it can be a complete dissection of the Palestinian struggle as well, told across 4 books. Is this finding its way, Sophie, I'll start with you, into the orbit of your kids?
Well, it does. I mean, I have got an amazing bande dessinée which is inspired by the life of Dominic de Villepin, the great statesman, which, it's actually, it's very interesting from a diplomatic point of view, but also the kids read it because there's this incredible storytelling. There's a sense of completely a perspective change when you read a story in that comic book sort of format. And I think there's entry points for everyone, but I think actually my children are really absorbed in, they read some sort of like slightly, I don't even want to mention, kind of like bunny versus monkey or whatever they've absorbed in. But I think it is very, very interesting to see how drawn they are to print and magazines and just that world. It's incredible to watch their attention spans just being completely rewritten when they're put in front of some beautiful paper and amazing image.
Emma, what's happening in your stretch of Marylebone when it comes to comics?
I dearly wish that pieces of paper could inspire in the way that they do in the Grove household as they do in the Nelson household. It's a bit more of a struggle, but I think the joy of the printed page when it comes to the cartoon is it is intergenerational, and so I take as much pleasure in reading Asterix and Tintin as my son does, as my husband does, and indeed anybody who comes into our living room. We keep them on the coffee table and people read them and their eyes light up because the intelligence and the knowing nature of the Sempe Goscinny work that they did. There's this wonderful thing where they some Spanish fighters come along in, I can't remember which Asterix it is, and they see some windmills and they start tilting at it. So there are these wonderful literary references, but at the same time it's just fantastically daft and people love a bit of that, and they just absolutely, I mean I don't know if anybody else around the table in Zurich feels this, but the joy of being able to pick up an Asterix book at duty free in Frankfurt and duty free in Paris and duty free in Rome, and bringing them home and realising that actually if the grasp of the language isn't quite there yet, the joy of the pictures is what really, really brings people in.
It's true. And Andrew, we had a bit of an Asterix moment as well. We had a board meeting at the start of this week, and one of our board members, it sort of really felt like we could have been out of any pages because he said he just bagged the biggest wild boar ever. We're talking about a beast about just under 200 kilos.
Yeah, I think he's a good shot, but wow, and he was suspicious. It was like had run across the border from Russia.
Yeah, he said because the really big boars are in Russia, but I think as well, if I was a Russian boar, I think I would be over the border. Yeah, as fast as possible to be living my life in Poland and maybe making my way.
An emigre.
Making my way to Germany. I want to. I heard someone knocking at the front door. I think we have a guest for brunch potentially. are those like the pitter patter of Rob Bound's feet?
Oh, hi, Tyler. Johnny,
Hello.
nice
Rob,
to
you sound
hear
like
your voice.
you sounds like you're in the echoey front hallway.
Yeah, I am. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I'm not in the studio. I had to rush home. I realised I hadn't got all my baubles out, and we're obviously having a drinks party this evening down here in South London. And there are those baubles that you really want people to see as they walk up the stairs. And I realised they hadn't been properly displayed and arranged. So that's where I am. You come to me while I've got string between my teeth and I'm precariously balanced on the stairway. So I hope that doesn't come across too badly on the line.
It sounds crystal clear. And what images you're painting for our listeners this morning, Rob? So Sunday evening drinks down your way. Maybe just take us through sort of the run of the evening. Baubles, of course, fully packed in place for the arrival of guests. What happens next?
Well, it'll be like the sort of main Christmas Day. It's a bit of a prelim for Christmas Day, which is happening down my folks in Sussex again this year. And it's a bit of a dry run for that, or rather a wet run for something that also is quite a wet event. And that will be, it's a thick cord trouser. Maybe there's a bit of tweed, some quite nice scent, maybe a bit of velvet. And then it's dark drinks. So there's quite a lot of Negronis, quite a lot of there's champagne cocktail, of course, a nice sticky drink. So it's in that kind of nature of things. There will be some mulled wine that someone will forget to tend, and it'll be sort of boiling over on the stove. So it sort of starts off, Tyler, as you know, with the best of intentions, but it soon gets sticky.
Rob, just you didn't complete the outfit. Are you running around barefoot, or is there a good sock involved, a loafer? Or are we doing maybe an Oxford? What's happening down south?
Yeah, it's a suede brogue actually. I'll be clip-clopping about it tonight, but for the time being, to do the preparations, it's a stockinged foot. But I think something nice and plush and from trunk actually, if I'm not mistaken.
Rob, you can hear sort of the smashing of bottles in the background here as well. Yes, that is sort of the Sunday vibe already here at Duvershans. Your friends are also here. Andrew Tuck is also here. Sophie Grove is also here as well. So please say, we'll just get together, everybody.
Well Rob, I want to know, because we were talking about your dance floor manoeuvres early on. Will there be dancing tonight? Is there a Bound soundtrack prepared?
There are a number of playlists to run through, and I'm really looking forward to it. And I'm sure it will happen, Andrew. But as you know from the Midori House, the Monocle Christmas party, I was actually dancing with a broken big toe that night. And so the trip to the minor injuries unit is going to have to be done. But I'll save that for tomorrow, just in case anything happens here tonight. So I'm trying to kill many birds with one stone. It's a bit like cooking a Christmas turkey.
And Rob, what are you feeding your guests? I'm imagining you're a bit of devil's on horseback man. But what's cooking in the oven?
That's good. There's a lot of devils on horseback. It's kind of devils on horseback and blinis. So that's the kind of that, and you need to get here early for that, Sophie. I'd warn you, because it becomes liquid quickly. Because as you know what happens, you turn your back to the stove and it's either gone one way or the other, or someone hasn't switched it on. So it's best, put your best foot forward, I suppose. Put your best Oxford brogue forward. By the way, it was lovely to see your dance moves on the Midori House dance floor the other night. I felt like it was a revolving dance floor, actually.
Well, it was. I mean, you were definitely outer rim anyway.
Earlier this week, we were actually with karaoke moves going on in Zurich. But a lot of dancing and strutting. Karaoke wasn't very static. It was performative in the best possible way. You were very much missed, Rob.
Well, Rob, there is this sort of, not even a small stage. It's actually quite a substantial stage that we have here in Zurich. Me, Andrew, and Sophie are atop that right now. And it does lend itself because, of course, you do have sort of the theatre space beyond. And it just sort of demands that you do a twirl. But it's more of a strut space, though.
It certainly is. It's funny the effect that a small incline can really have on the mentality of the people standing on stage. You feel like, okay, people are here to see something. Let's think of a routine. Even I could see people really coordinating, and we had Nick Manise sort of actually doing a few sort of comic monologues in between. There's kind of lulls where you're not quite sure what's happening with the soundtrack.
Desi was working two different, what you could say, sort of sound libraries. Rob, there was sort of for most of like the Western songs, but of course we had what's karaoke without a bit of joy sound. So we also had the joy sound server up and running from Japan as well. And so Sophie's like, Nick had to sort of fill a bit of not just a bit. There was the occasional lapses of airtime.
And I also like to eat your heart out. I mean, it's absolutely amazing. Also, you're the beneficiaries of a lovely big, thick velvety curtain there in Zurich, in the Zurich studio. So that's something to behold and something to peep out from.
Rob, tell me. So this is the run through before there's the family festival. What happens? Just maybe. Hopefully, sort of, none of the nearest and dearest are going to be listening to this. Oh, they can play it later. What's happening on the presents front? What, or at least what happens around sort of the Bound tree?
Well, the Bound tree it's. I mean, there's obviously a lot of big books so that people can hide their large gin and tonics behind them and pretend that they're reading the sort of, the New York Review of Books' compendium to 2024 and things like that. So there's a sort of the doubly practical end of things. But I think this year, what I'm looking for and what my wife Lena, who might be getting, is I think we're going to finally bite the bullet and realise that we can't rely on good fortune and a fair wind and styling it out. We're going to go for tennis lessons. So we're going to look forward to the sort of late spring, early summer and get the forehand, the backhand, and the serve perfected. I was lucky enough to write something for Sophie for Conflict this year about tennis, about the kind of sexy coolness of tennis, and I think I'm going to finally try to bear that out in actions as much as words in 2025. So that'll be what I'm hoping for, and what also might be a gift from me under the tree for this December.
Well, I'm glad to hear you were inspired. In fact, editing the piece, I also started signing up my whole family for tennis lessons. And we've been doing it on Saturday mornings with Fabian, the local tennis teacher. And it's actually just such fun. But in my mind, I'm much, much better than I actually am. So it's hard when you've got the beautiful outfit, you get down there and then the serve doesn't quite work out. So it's worth really investing early. So by summer, you're going to be really acing it.
So if you grass, clay court?
It's actually clay. But I mean, I like a grass court. But I have to go to Cambridge for that.
Wait, hold on. But Andrew, are you feeling the pressure right now? Because friends, we all know that Andrew, no excuses. Andrew lives across the street when he's in Palma from what has to be one of the most exquisite tennis clubs in Europe in any setting. It is this modernist, it's Koderch, isn't it, who probably was the architect, Andrew? It is delightful. It is a complete Swedish ghetto. I don't even know, maybe Andrew's, that's your one get out of or get off the court clause that you might have because, Rob, it's only Swedes. It's like Swedes for days, so they may not even sort of let a Brit who's in Palma in, but it's no excuse because it's so lovely, isn't it, Andrew?
Well, you sit on our terrace and there's the theatre of all the clay courts and everybody playing, and it is a magical to watch because even when they're not playing, then there's the kind of the decent thing that you then clean up the court afterwards. You pull the I don't know what the machine is called, but the device you pull behind you to kind of flatten out the clay again and make it all look neat and tidy. There's some handsome people that play, so it's worthwhile lingering on your balcony. But it's true, I don't play tennis, so it's a little bit of a sin. So Sophie, and Rob, maybe I need to.
But any temptation, Andrew?
I would love to. I just remember I did try it once when I was younger, and just throwing that ball up in the air, and then you miss it 5 times with the racket, and then you think, oh my god, this is humiliating with people watching you. And that's the terrible thing about these tennis courts is you have a natural auditorium of all these high-rise, nice apartment blocks around the tennis court. So while you're missing every ball, there's quite a lot of people, especially in the summer, who are on their terraces watching your utterly dreadful performance if you're bad. So I think maybe I need to find somewhere a little bit more discreet to begin the lessons rather than fully exposed, as it were, in the middle of Parma.
And also, I have to say, we've had one of our patrons who's been working very, very hard on this, as Andrew, to as we sort of expand our patrons network and we do more events for Monocle patrons, he wants to have sort of a full, I would say Monocle Cup.
Yeah, he one of our amazing patrons who lives in the Netherlands. He's come up with a whole idea, a business idea, a program for us to kind of have a championship. So he said, what would you get involved? And I've promised I'll be serving drinks and handing out oranges. But I'm very happy to be on the sidelines. But Sophie, I'm seeing a new role for you and Rob.
Well, I think we would really need to be the après tennis committee, because for me, tennis is really about the spirit and the kind of the aesthetic, but also the kind of little drink afterwards, you know, the kind of little moment where you're sort of having a break in those wonderful ritual moments. I'd be worried it might get too professional and too competitive without us. So we might be key.
I think we are absolutely,
keeping it.
we're absolutely essential. Listen, Rob, stay there for a moment because we just hit the bottom of the hour. You're listening to Monocle on Sunday. We're live from Zurich. Andrew Tuck is here also. Sophie Grove, Rob Bound on the line, but Emma Nelson is back in London with, I think, some special news headlines.
With the Christmas news headlines here in London, thank you very much indeed, Tyler. France is being hit by a shortage of people willing to play the role of Father Christmas in schools, shopping centres and local businesses. Ungrateful parents and crying children have left events agencies scrambling to find actors willing to play the role. One particular case saw a Santa quit on the spot after angry parents told him to go back to the North Pole. Children have been left in tears as a Christmas Lapland trip has become a holiday from hell. Families forked out around €5,000 for a 3-day trip of a lifetime to Kuusamo in Finland. They arrived to find what they described as dangerous and disastrous activities, with some being left without food for over 8 hours. There was no snow, a tied-up angry reindeer, and one sobbing child said when she met Santa, he said, "I don't even live here, this is my holiday home." And there'll be more tears in a Hampshire school after a vicar told a group of school children that Father Christmas was not real. Pupils began to sob as the Reverend Dr. Paul Chamberlain made comments during a religious education lesson. One parent described his talk as absolutely disgusting, while another child said that the vicar had lost the plot. A shopper was left surprised after she spotted an X-rated detail on a Christmas decoration at her local home furnishing store. Thinking the white reindeer statue would look perfect on her mantelpiece this Christmas, she popped it in her basket and took it home. It turns out that the reindeer was hiding a rather large anatomically correct secret below, which the woman only discovered after she turned the ornament upside down. For those who followed last year's Christmas news, they'll remember how the world record for the biggest number of Christmas lights at a single residence was held by Tim and Grace Gay from the Hudson Valley in the US. Well, you'll be delighted to know that the Gays have held on to their title for a 10th year this year. For almost 3 decades, the Gays have built up their display from 600 lights in 1995 to a world-beating 700,380,000 lights in 2024. Each year, up to 100,000 people take in the Gays displays. And finally, a summer holiday camp in the southwest of England has undergone a revamp in order to welcome Christmas guests. Sandy Balls Holiday Park in the New Forest is traditionally only open during the warmer months, but the enterprising owners have brought in twinkling lights, entertainment and a sprinkle of Christmas magic in a Forest of Light event. It now means everyone can enjoy Sandy Balls right through the festive season. And those are the headlines. Back to you, Tyler, in Zurich.
Thanks very much, Emma. Brenda Tui has just arrived as well. Brenda's heading off to Dubai. Rob, I know you're going to have something to say about Sandy Balls as well, because of course you were arranging your baubles just before the news started.
I can't believe it. That's the kind of news that we need more of. That was Monocle Radio at its finest. This is why we have an international. Well, we have hundreds of correspondents around the world, and I'm just glad it's come to fruition here at Christmas time. It's absolutely brilliant, and I think if you've got the Sandy Balls, it's fine. If you do come to the drinks party later, I'll just put a little bowl of water out.
Rob, we're going to let you dash and be careful with the stocking feet on the parquet. Wishing you a very, very Merry Christmas.
And to you, Tyler. Merry Christmas, gang.
Merry Christmas. Thank you, Rob. Brenda Tui is here. Hello,
Hi.
Nice to see you. Brenda, we've of course been talking about a little bit sort of rewinding, not just across sort of the past week, 2 weeks, but also across the year as well. You've come in at a moment. Rob was just talking before you came on set here that He was talking about what he's doing drinks-wise, a little bit what's happening entertainment-wise. Brenda, we're still a couple of days out until Christmas. People still have time to buy. You're in the luxury space. You are a market editor, of course, spending a lot of time looking at fine timepieces, jewelry, not just baubles, but that could sort of be part of it as well. I'm going to set you a little bit of a task, or maybe we should do what we normally do with Chandra. Maybe what we should do, I'm going to ask Emma, Andrew, and Sophie. They're going to give you a little brief right now.
Okay.
We're just someone that you might want to be buying for. And then Brenda, we can come back to you. You don't have to sort of do it on the spot, but if you're really, really good, you can. Okay. Emma, I'm going to start with you because we do this every week. You know how it goes. So where's the missing gift right now when you sort of look under the bed? All of those things that you've accumulated already for all of the ones that you love and maybe otherwise. What's missing? And where could Brenda assist?
Oh, Brenda. Well, we've just had a sort of topsy-turvy few months when we've actually spent a lot of our time getting rid of things because we've moved house. And so the idea of accumulating more stuff this year has actually sort of given us the shivers. But there is something I would very much like to put a ring on my husband's finger on his right hand. Where do I start?
Ooh, okay. So, Brenda, we'll come back to that, okay? So you think about... Are we going vintage, or are you thinking about maybe one of the right companies that could be correct? Maybe we have to be in a custom world. Okay, we've got that. Okay, Sophie.
I was thinking, my mother loves tableware. She loves, she's from Sheffield, she loves silver. But I want to get her something that would just be kind of timeless, not too seasonal, but for the table.
Okay, I've got an idea there too.
Andrew, I thought when Emma was sort of talking about sort of moving everything, I thought she was going to ask Brenda where she could rent a skip from. But anyway, Andrew, you're after a tennis racket, clearly.
I'm going to reverse a bit. If I was a wealthy man trying to attract the attention of Brenda Tui,
ooh,
what would I buy from the jewelry world that would impress her?
Ooh.
Oh, okay.
Okay. That's
okay.
That's a sound and solid brief. So we will come back to that.
Great.
I want to go if we can. I think we want to head to Helsinki because Emma, you have to get that news story lined up as well, because I'm sure, as we heard at the top of the show, our Petri Burtsoff, our correspondent in Helsinki, he really wants to talk about Santa. But I mean, you've really sort of dug up, a bit of a clangor, which I'm sure, whether there's people in this, the Finnish Foreign Ministry, all of those comms firms have done an incredible job building up the Santa story, the Rovaniemi story, etc. So let's have that on standby in case he didn't catch it. But let's head up to Helsinki now. Our Petri Burtsoff is standing by for us. Tervetuloa. Hello, Petri.
Tervetuloa, Tyler. And I have to jump straight into this story that Emma mentioned, because I mean, this has to be an imposter from Sweden. There's just no way that a Finnish Santa would do it. Absolutely zero chance. I mean, I get the whole bit about not having snow. That's weather, it happens. It's unpredictable. But a Finnish Santa would never leave anybody hungry. You guys have sat on his lap when he's been in London. I've been in his lap. He's nice and kind, and he doesn't do that kind of stuff. So yeah, this has to be a Swedish imposter. And one thing I have to mention about this story, I mean, that kind of just shows that it's a Swede, because this takes place in Kuusamo, which is not even in Lapland. This is like south of Lapland. So there's no Santa in Kuusamo. Come on, he lives in Rovaniemi.
Okay, so wait, what about this? Emma, there's some other aspects of the story, though, which we have to drill down on. There's an angry reindeer as well. I am also picturing it's a bit matted as well, or it's molting. As soon as you sort of talked about this reindeer, wasn't looking great. So just Emma, what are the other elements of the story?
A quick recap. Fine. So we have the children in tears, obviously not great. No snow. You've dealt with that, Petri. A tied-up, angry reindeer.
Okay.
A Santa who says, "I don't even live here," clearly suggesting that he's Swedish. Children being left with nothing for 8 hours. There's a really quite bad sign that's been pulled up that you would sort of put outside on the railings of a primary school to say Lapland here. And apparently Mrs. Claus had her mobile phone in her pocket.
Okay, so let's keep working through this, Petri.
Okay, so where do I start? Mrs. Santa and the mobile phone. Look, Finland single-handedly created the mobile phone. Nokia is finished; it's no more. But we still own the market, kind of, at least, sort of like history of it all. So that I can explain. It's part of nation branding. Then this whole thing about the reindeer.
But do we think Mrs. I don't know. Let's take a step back from this. Is this a Swede who's playing Santa got hitched to a Finnish woman? What's going on here? Let's just deal with that part of the story.
Yeah, something like that must have happened. I don't have any other explanation to it. Let's say it's a Swede and somebody from Norway, because I think Norwegians also lay claim to Santa Claus. So another imposter country there.
Okay, good. Yep. Okay, let's just make sure we offend the whole top of the world in one go. Okay, what does the tied up reindeer suggest?
Okay, so here's my theory. So given that the real Finnish Santa has to deliver presents to all the kids around the world, so, and he only has his set of reindeers, so they have to be on steroids. So, they just have to keep the reindeers sort of tied down, and they're so unhappy because they can't run around the world yet delivering the presents. So I think that's the reason why they look so unhappy. They need to be moving, they need to be flying and running around.
Okay.
Oh.
Okay, Emma, do you think we've dealt with the whole story?
No, I think I think we
What?
might have to call some welfare in to say that Santa is. Are you implying, Petri, that Santa has drugged the reindeer?
Well, there are lots of natural remedies and medicines in Lapland as well. When I say steroids, I'm of course refer to, let's say, the cloudberries that are the sort of the natural medicines of Lapland.
And what about these screaming brats or crying brats as well? Are they Finnish, these kids?
No, they'd flown over from the United Kingdom.
Oh, they're from the UK.
Oh, yeah,
All right,
this is a special trip.
Okay, we know where they're from.
Yeah.
So and are they from your neighbourhood, do you think?
I don't think so. I mean, we're heading down to just Midori House, thankfully. It sounds like a long way to go for a scrawled sign, but unfortunate. 8 hours is a long time to go without a snack.
No, it
Let's
is.
be honest.
So Petri, there is. I don't know. Maybe this is also Swedish defence forces, involved as well. It seems like a little bit of torture going on with all of this as well. No.
Yeah, and I think we've all read the reports about the GPS jamming that our eastern neighbor does. So maybe that's involved here as well, I think.
That's why the snacks didn't get airlifted by drone or something. Okay, Petri, you had 3 other sort of Santa-themed stories for us that are very important to discuss. Where do you want to start today?
Well, I want to start with something funny. I don't know if you guys have heard, probably not, but Finnish Christmas traditions, some of them are really weird. I want to mention something on Finnish Christmas carols. Christmas carols around the world, they're usually funny and jolly and ho, ho, ho. Finnish Christmas carols are incredibly depressing, okay? So just to mention a few examples.
You're surprising us here.
Yeah, maybe that's the case. Maybe there's a dark side to the Santa. But
okay, we need an example, and we need you to sing along as well. Okay.
Oh my goodness. Okay, I'm not prepared for this. Okay, so there's probably the most famous one. It's called Varpunen jouluaamuna, and basically there's a part in that song that goes En mä ole lapseni lintu tästä maasta, which translates as my child, I am not a bird from this world. I am your deceased little brother. I come from the heavens.
Oh my God. Wow, that's jumping out of the stocking in your nightmares. Right.
Yeah. Then there's one about, you should enjoy Christmas now because we're all going to die soon. Then there's one that makes... Yes, and then there's one where they make fun of the pig, which will be eaten soon. Of course, ham being the Christmas staple in Finland. Then there's one with baby Jesus.
But we'll hold off on baby Jesus for a moment. How does the pig we're going to eat and we're going to make fun of it in the meantime? How does that go?
Okay, it goes something like this. Sika, sä kuulan kallon saat. Which basically translates as, which means, pig, you will get a bullet in your brain soon.
Oh my goodness.
Lovely.
It sounds really quaint when you sing it, but we don't
really
know
does.
what it means.
Yeah, exactly. You don't know what's heading your direction. Okay, maybe just if we can talk about the Christmas season, though, in Helsinki, of course, we're and Finland in general. Petri, this is a time people are, of course, looking into 2025. Everyone's is really sort of saying, from a consumer perspective, it's going to be a bit on the slow side. Everyone's sort of braced for things flattening out. Of course, we know the challenge of one of your, well, it's 2 countries away, or 1 country in between. Of course, things not going so well in China at the moment in many corners, or a slowdown there. But what's the mood been like out on the street right now? If we went out and sort of walked down Esplanade in Helsinki today, what's the mood?
Right. Well, it's December, which is the Christmas month in Finland, so people are happy. But I mean, if I just rewind sort of
but
one
finish
month
happy.
Yeah, finish happy means like, it's same face as when it's sad. Basically, no expressions. But if I rewind a month ago, I mean, I think you have a point there. Finland is suffering from a lot of it has to do with the closure of the Russian airspace, of course. Finnair's strategy having to do a complete 180 turn, not being able to fly via Russia anymore to Asia. So we're missing, because of the sanctions, we're missing out on the Russian tourists, but we're also missing out on a lot of the Asian travelers as well. So we are seeing that in the streets, luxury boutiques closing down in Helsinki, and some of the sort of luxury hotels that have been opened in recent year or two, they're basically just empty, which is kind of sad. But then on the bright side, even without the Russians and the Chinese and the Japanese, tourism in Lapland is booming. Hotels are fully booked. There might be some sad examples there as well, as we alluded to before. But overall, it's very, very, very positive.
And let's go. We talk about Rovaniemi a lot. Just paint a picture for us. What is it like up in Lapland? What is it like in Santa's HQ? I mean, don't paint a beautiful picture. There's a lot of children listening today. Okay. So ho ho ho, all the children listening. Don't go to Kuusamo. That's fake Lapland. Go to Rovaniemi, the real Lapland. So basically. The way it used to be, there used to be just one official Santa park. That's where the Santa who visits the Monocle Christmas market, that's where the real Santa lives. And it's done in a wonderful, magical way. A log cabin where he lives, and there's music playing, and it's just done beautifully. There's reindeer, there's a fire burning outside, and you can barbecue there and stuff. But I recently went there, and it turns out there are steady now. Okay.
This is not sad. This is just sort of more to choose from. Let's put a positive spin on this. So there's 3 competing other Santa parks. So 4 Santas in total, which all claim to be the official Santa in Rovaniemi. And I think this has to do with the tourism boom. That one Santa simply isn't enough anymore to meet all the kids. But still, I was kind of like I was a little bit surprised to see that they've gone this way. But hey, all the kids listening, you have more to choose from. You can meet 4 Santas in one trip. Even if you pay £4,000, you meet 4 Santas, 1,000 per Santa.
And is this still a fully finished? These other 2 are fully finished backed ventures as well.
Yeah, they are. I mean, they're all advertised on the Rovaniemi city sort of.
Yeah, I get that
website.
bit, but I'm just wondering, is one maybe owned by the Qatari, sovereign wealth fund? I'm just wondering.
Probably not. But I mean, Swedes do say, this is all in all seriousness. I mean, Sweden does claim that Santa is from Sweden. There's even a Santa world in Dalarna in Sweden, which is not even like in the north of Sweden. It's like south of Stockholm. They claim that Santa is from there. So Finland is facing some, and Danes believe that he lives in Greenland. Okay, that's somehow realistic. Norwegians, I think they believe that he was born like under a stone in a fjord near Oslo or something. So I mean, Finland is the real deal. Come on, it looks like Santa's home. It feels like Santa's home, and there's 4 Santas.
It is.
What's not to like?
Okay, can you wish all Monocle listeners? Oh, Andrew had a quick question.
I just wanted to know, Petri, in Finland, when does Santa come to the house?
Santa comes on the 24th, actually. So not on the 25th, like most of the world. So he comes in the evening of the 24th, and he comes. He doesn't leave presents under the Christmas tree. He doesn't climb through the chimney. He actually comes and visits every house. And it's kind of funny as an adult. Of course, all the kids are at home. As an adult, when you go out, you see all these Santas driving around in cars and on trams in Helsinki and heading to different houses. And it's quite a good business as well. I saw there was a poster at our kids' daycare advertising, hey, here's a good Santa for your house. It said 50 euros an hour, can several languages, and is sober. Which I thought was funny.
Okay, Petri, just before we go here, can you wish all of the Monocle listeners around the world a very Merry Christmas in Finnish, please?
Kaikille Monoclen kuulijoille ympäri maailman oikein hyvää joulua.
There we go. What about this time with some more energy? Because that sort of was sort of December and also July sad face.
Okay, so I was kind of in the Finnish Christmas carols mood. Sorry, okay,
I know. Let's globalize this one.
Okay.
Yksi, kaksi, kolme.
Okay. 1, 2, 3. Kaikille Monoclen kuulijoille ympäri maailman oikein hyvää joulua.
Beautiful. Almost shades of Japanese there.
Amazing.
Emma, didn't you think it sounded like just there's something you can tell that again, top of the world nations. And I've always sort of believed about that. There's that secret tunnel somewhere between Helsinki and Haneda Airport.
I've absolutely no idea what Petri has just said, and I'm not entirely sure I want to know what Petri just said. What did you say, Petri?
I was being nice. I just said
I'm sure you
Merry Christmas to all the Monocle listeners around the world, and have a good time.
Yeah, yes, please.
Kiitos for that. Have a super Christmas. We look forward. Well, actually, maybe just wishes. So Andrew's here, Sophie as well. If you could have one plum assignment next year, Petri, where would you like to go? What would you like to do? What do you want to report on for us?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I want to do something related to, this is not nice for the Christmas episode, but I want to do something related to NATO. I want to go to the Russian border, see what the border patrols are like. I want to go there like with the NATO soldiers, with the Americans, with like Navy SEALs and like combat gear and all of that, and do a nice photo reportage.
Night vision goggles, right?
Yes. And I have another request. Can we put Santa correspondent on my Monocle business cards, please?
Oh yeah, I think Santa correspondent. That's the easiest thing. But I'm sure Sophie, Andrew can also work on some connections with Brussels, and I'm sure the other NATO capitals to get you to the high north.
We're going to sort that out for you, Petri. That's a promise. That's your Christmas gift.
Oh my God, best Christmas ever.
That was our Petri Burtsoff joining us from Helsinki. We're almost coming to the end of this very special edition of Monocle on Sunday. Of course, Andrew Tuck around the table, also Sophie Grove, Emma Nelson back in London, Brenda Toohey here as well. Okay, listeners, everyone set Brenda a task just a few minutes ago before we headed off to Helsinki. Emma, we'll start with you. What was your brief to Brenda? And Brenda, of course, is going to come up with a little gift idea.
Something very simple but incredibly difficult, Brenda. My husband has a wedding ring, our wedding ring, on his left hand. Something for his right hand, please.
Okay, well, I'm going to keep it very simple and very elegant also. We're going to go to Cartier and we're going to get a Russian wedding ring. 3 rings in one. I know that there are 3 gorgeous people in your family. So rose gold to represent Emma, white gold to represent Chris, and yellow gold for your golden boy. I think that will look very elegant.
I think simple. I might have to have one of those
chic.
as well.
I think you should, Emma.
Is there a bracelet version of that as well, Brenda?
Yes, there is a bracelet version.
See, there you go.
Yeah.
No, I'll have the ring as well. No, rings matching all the way. Sorry, I can't remember who I was buying for now. It's all gone.
Exactly.
It's all gone very noisy in my head.
Maybe it was all for you, really. And there's earrings too. You could do. I think you could have the whole set.
That would be. Is that
Forget
a little
about
much?
Chris.
Yeah, sorry.
No, you don't have to wear them all at once. It's fine.
Does one wear all at once? Well, I would suggest
I do.
Not. Do you? So more is more.
More is more, Emma. Yes, don't be undersold. More is more.
Pile it on, Brenda. I love it.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay, that's sorted.
Thank you.
Off you go, New Bond Street, on your way to Cartier as we chat here. Okay, Sophie, you are after.
What was I? Tableware.
Yes.
It could be vintage, but it's silverware.
This is for your mom.
My mum, yeah.
Yes, for your lovely mother. So I was thinking that your mother has, there are a lot of people in her family. She entertains for quite a big crowd. And I was thinking that maybe sometimes, you might get confused about who's at the table and where they should sit. So I'm thinking of placement holders in silver from Christoffel. Now, they're so pretty. They come beautifully fashioned in different animal disguises. Really pretty. I think that would be gorgeous. And I think that all of the children present would love that too. Now, you can go to Selfridges, probably, or any other big department store wherever you live and pick something like that up. Or you could probably buy them from an auction house from the secondary market.
Or you just go directly to Paris. I'm there. But I love that idea because children love setting the table and they can each have their own animal. And that will just be hours of entertainment.
Yeah, exactly. Get them out of the kitchen, right?
Yeah.
The fine art of turning your children into waiting staff.
Yeah, well, listen, there's not enough of that going around. Andrew, you sort of turned it back on Brenda, but anyway.
Brenda, I want to know if I was trying to lure you in, gain your attention.
Here's how to do it. Here's how to do it. I think, as you know, when I was in Zurich last week, I stupidly left my gorgeous scarf on the plane. I mean, I was so stupid. Anyway, it's never reappeared. So I think if you wanted to impress me and lure me in this Christmas, I would go to Hermes. And I don't want one of the silk scarves, although they are exquisite. I want a cozy cashmere and silk wrap.
Oh, yeah, the wrap.
Yeah.
My mom loves those wraps.
Yeah, your mother has quite a few of them, I've noticed. Anyway, that's what I would like. I don't mind. Any colorway will do because they don't do anything apart from exquisitely fashioned, beautiful shawls. That's what I would like from Hermes.
I mean, Andrew, that's it's a pretty easy order almost, isn't it?
A beautiful idea, but I've got a fear that because you're going to Dubai, it's more likely going to be a falafel wrap.
Well, yes.
Carb free, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Unwrapped. Unwrapped.
Just some falafels will do, right? Just in my hand, yeah.
What
a beautiful and knowledgeable list. I love that.
Great.
That's great. This could be
Good.
sort of. You could also be the stand. You could be the ghostwriter for the concierge, which it is actually a job that's going. Brenda.
Okay, I'm up for it.
You are after Christmas. You are bound for Dubai.
I am.
You love Dubai at this time of year.
I really do love it at this time of year. I mean, I even love it in August when it's super hot because that's the kind of gal I am. But it's perfect at this time of year. It's warm in the day, 25, 26 degrees. Then it's a little chilly in the evening. And I have many great friends there, and I'm really looking forward to going to see them, to partying a little bit, to feeling the sand between my toes, to swimming in the ocean, in the sea, and I just can't wait.
Andrew, tennis courts?
I'm going to be in Palma for the whole duration, and I can't wait. So it's not going to be quite that temperature, but each Christmas we've been there, it's been 18, 19, sometimes 20 degrees. And when you sit in that winter sun outside a restaurant with the dog, with the paper, and suddenly you're kind of just removed from all the complications of Christmas, and you're so at ease. So I can't wait.
Sophie, where will you be?
I'm heading to Cambridge, where my family live, and it's just very cozy, very beautiful services. You can hear King's College Choir live, and then it's very twinkly. I'll be having a little dip on Christmas Day in the Lido, swiftly followed by a little snifter of whiskey and a sit in the sauna. So it's quite fun.
Nice. Lovely, everybody.
And you, Tyler?
Me? Mountains. I was going to try to sort of steal a page from Andrew. I was hoping that we would sort of be all done, set up, and ready to go in Lisbon. But that will not be happening until at some point in January. So it's going to be no shortage of sunshine up in St. Moritz. Of course, listeners, if you happen to pass through St. Moritz right up until the end of March, we also have a lovely little shopping cafe right on the roundabout, right at the Hotel Stefani, which is superb. Emma Nelson, I hear you clattering away. We're almost at the end of the show. Where are you going to be in 10 seconds or less?
Quick whip round all the relatives, but we have a balcony for the first time in our lives, so we're going to use it as an outdoor fridge and store all the champagne there.
Love the sound of that. Andrew Tuck, Brenda Toohey, Sophie Grove, also Petri Burtsoff and Rob Bound as well. A huge thanks to everyone. Also to Desiree Bentley, also Steph Jungu back in London, who is looking after the audio for the show. One more show to go this year as well. I'm Tyler Brûlé. Have a very, very Merry Christmas. More next week. Goodbye.